Greetings, everyone. Running just a little bit behind schedule. I appreciate those that were waiting patiently. Greetings, brother Mike Easton, former quarterback of the New England Patriots. Oh man. Greetings, Sister Gabrielle Union. I know it's the middle of the day. Again, like I said, I try not to make these too long, not going long at all. Just wanted to say again to get into part two of Do You Know What Time It Is? Uh, part two of the dealing with the Natchez tribe and who they were and what those that actually um, encountered them when the explorers were over here, and then some of the conquistadors or conquerors, and then those that came along uh, a little bit later. But as I was sharing before, you know, about the Natchez and their particular assignment of their tribe, what they were responsible for is they were the fort builders. And later on, I will put up a photo again, a picture of those of. I guess it should be classified what they classify as an Olmec head or an Uli head, but still gets back to them and their craftsmanship on them building these forts. So I know a lot of people will continue to say that it's we and it's we and it's we. But again, in order to find out who we truly are, we have to start breaking down and asking some things. Now, there are some things that we just do as a people that are, I don't want to say universal, but are within our culture. And then there are certain things that, particularly family members would do, particular crafts. I know they're trying to bring those back into schools now to where they have trades and those type of things. At one point they had taken it out and said it was too much of a liability, but now, like I said, they bringing those crafts back as far as welding, and of course they have the future farmers of America and agriculture and all that stuff. So just get back into um, doing those things and not have to pay an arm and a leg to go to trade school or college to get those same skills that should be given to um, you know our children on at least a high school level. So, but that's just me on my soapbox, and I'm gonna get off, but we're gonna get right into it. The one book that always puts all heads to bed, and those that want to do it, and I don't know, I just been connected with craziness every time I get alerts on my YouTube now, and it's dealing with these crazy exchanges. I don't because they're not bills. I'm not even going to call them bills. They're crazy exchanges or things that get kind of out there that don't quite make sense. Greetings, brother Marcus Pauling. Yeah, I appreciate you coming in and listening in. Yeah, I just kind of listening to some, catching snippets because I can only tolerate, so much of that. So maybe 5, 10 minutes max, if that, of some of these live streams, and I'm kind of like, man, what in the world? Of not understanding, um, and I realized this, um, over the years that some people actually are listening to when you're having a discussion with someone, they're actually listening, but they're doing their own thing because they're prepared for an answer. And perhaps it was to a question or a statement that you haven't even made yet. So I see that a lot in these exchanges. And then it gets to, I want to prove myself right. Even when I'm wrong, I'm still going to keep doubling down to try to get these aha, I got you moments. And that I don't roll like that. I'm cut from a different cloth. But as I gave some books to delve into, and hopefully if you can't find it, you should be able to find it online for free. The majority of these books, because they are so um historical. I don't want to say old because they are so historical. You can find them online for free. So try to get a lot of those if you can't. If you have an iPhone, but I'm Android for life, so I can go into the Google Books and pull up the books, and then I have accounts. You can get free accounts from several of these college and university libraries, so you have access to the same books and literature and writings that those that are paying, hundreds of thousands of dollars to attend these institutions. So take advantage of it. So like I said, I gave a few authors before, but I wanted to touch on one, kind of delved into this. Like I said, maybe a couple of years, well, more than a couple of years ago. I know I have, because this goes all the way back to, oh man, about maybe even 10 years ago. No, it was longer than that. I say about 2003, and I'll give y'all a little bit of history. It's 2003. This goes back to the times of. For those that don't know, I know some think I'm a new jack, but this goes back to the days of the Amun Ra Squad, and that was before. This is Blog Talk Radio days, and this goes back to when it was the original members of the Amun Ra Squad, and I'm still close with one of my brothers, Doctor Brother Ishmael um, Bay. And so if you find him on Facebook, I don't think he's on YouTube anymore. I know he kind of broke away from the camp from Armor Rock Squad because he started getting kind of derogatory and insulting. So he backed out of that. Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. I got you. I got you. Yeah. And so that's how far I started going back. So this is one of the books that I was pulling up because they wanted to um not Brother Ish, but other members there. And it's one other brother. If I say his name, he's probably gonna pop up. He'll swear up and down all the time that he doesn't know me, but there's several recordings of us interacting, and he's called me and I've called him, and we talked. I see he's mellowed out a little bit, but he still gets on his soapbox, Uncle Kit from the Armin Ross Squad. He's over there with Joe Jackson on 125th Street now. But this is one of the books, was is A Star in the West by Elias Boudinot. And this this book that he wrote, as he's going along and he's interacting with the Indians here in North America. And when he comes across a tribe of Indians and he's asking about the book, the book, talking about the collection of books that we call the Bible. And these the elders answered him and said that the book that the white man has was once ours, belonged to us, saying that the American Indian people. And because we failed, we did not adhere to the writings in that book, we fail. Now, I'm not here to get and dealing with any religion, telling anybody what to believe, what not to believe. I'm not doing that. I am strictly talking from a historical perspective. And you'll hear me say it before, and I'll say it again, that the Bible, the collection of books called the Bible, is just a remix of a remake of a remake of a remake of a remake. Because if we look at the Epic of Gilgamesh, same thing, the different part of the world, older than the collection of books called the Bible. Over here, I would suggest anyone And I know Sister Gabrielle Union, I know you, and I apologize that I didn't see your message until, like, in the wee hours. That's when I really get my thinking cap on. So I apologize. We will get together after this. Is the Popol Vuh saying the same things that all of these other cultures are saying long before the Bible gets here? Now, a little bit things are different. Maybe a detail here, detail there, but the overall concept is saying the same thing. So we cannot ignore this fact. So I always take research and talking to people, not with my own biases. I go in with the mindset of, hey, I'm here to learn. I can learn from anyone. As I used to tell my students when I taught school, I learn more from you than you will ever learn from me. So I go in with the concept of willing to an openness, willingness to learn. So when we start doing that, greetings, Brother Carrie Bay. Go maybe start playing the "We Are Family" song. Everybody coming back in this camp. I just wanted to, you know, to get that out there. So I'm one of those that I don't say if someone belongs to a particular faith, a particular group of people, I don't shut them off and say, oh no, they don't know what they do. I can learn from anyone. Now, with that being said, there are certain people in certain camps that I cannot tolerate because, like I say, I don't like putting anyone down or belittling anyone. That's just not my style. I like to have fun because, again, when you're having fun, you can actually learn better and open up some of those portals to learn. But we were talking about Elias, Storm the West by Elias Boudinot, and specifically when he gets in to chapter 5 and he starts breaking down the various tribes and what started happening. And as I was mentioning before, that they said that they came, the ancient ones, meaning the ones before them, came by way of the west and ended up settling where they were. So they did not say that they came from the north. They're saying they came from the west. Now, there's another group of people. Before I get into this, and it's gonna make some people upset, but it is what it is. It ain't what it ain't. A lot of the words that you will see now that people call Maya words, Mayan words, that when you see the tech at the end, as in Zavotec, Toltec, Aztec. This is Aztecan. This is Utu or Utu Aztecan, where they get the word Utah from. If you all have seen, greetings, Brother Copper Indio. If you all have seen Wild Wild West with Will Smith, if you remember the German lady when she was reading the lips when Will Smith was talking, and she was the German lady worked with Loveless, but she had the binoculars and she was reading lips, and she was saying, Utah, Utah instead of Utah, Utah. So these are Uto Aztecans that they are equivalent to your Romans, and I mentioned this before. Your Romans that took over the Greek culture and made it their own and changed the names of the deities and the characteristics, but the characteristics remain the same. So it's the same thing that you'll see these names to this group of people, but it's dealing with the Aztec. So some things that the Aztec couldn't mention that they didn't know, and then there are some things that the Maya mentioned, but then they say, "Hey, we don't know. This came before us." So we're talking about the people that even came before. So in here, they're talking to him along. These are Mississippi, again, the Mississippi Mayas, and talking about, hey, the ancient ones coming from the west. and coming up on that land. And then as we get into part three, we'll start talking about. I kind of teased it a little bit about what happened during the last deluge, the last great flood. And it was more than just a flood because it was a catastrophic effect. Some areas, again, were blasted with fire coming from the ground. Um, that there was another body that crashed into the earth, and this is written in all other cultures. And so this is what caused a large percentage of the people on the planet to be wiped off the face of the earth. And with that, a lot of knowledge came and left. So this is a recycle or a rebuild. And the best way I could put it is movie The Matrix, when they finally found out, when they finally got to the man and he was sitting there, they're like, oh yeah, this is the seventh time we've done this. We've had to reset. Every time we just started over. We just kept starting over, just kept starting over. So it's the same thing that we come to an advanced as advancement of civilization. And this is just me. My belief is what I think is not worth a hill of beans. But I believe that we're coming back to that once again. Once because reaching that peak, because you think with a push of a button, you can be anywhere all over the world and get into anything. What you carry in your purse or in your pocket in the form of a phone, you think about, you can pay all your bills, any transactions that you need to do, talk to someone halfway around the world, click in anywhere. I mean, you name it, it's at your fingertips. So just me, but I believe that we are getting back to where our ancestors were dealing with Atlantis. So as I was saying uh, about the Mississippi Indians, the Mississippi Maya, and he starts talking about, well, they start talking about to him about what happened and the wars between the tribes, between the nations that took place, and the Natchez, who at that time, this is like 1816, were on the southeast side of the Mississippi River. Now, mind you, again, being all over, and those that again, I know most of you probably already know this, but it gets back into, you have to study uh, horticulture, agriculture, and just culture, period. And when you start studying culture, you start to understand and see certain things that you may not get in books. So you'll see these mounds, these great fortified places along the Mississippi and all up in the areas as it branches out, getting up to Cahokia. When you get into that to that structure, to that place, because that was the capital of what we know as North America. Because you have Tenochtitlan, you have Chichen Itza down there in the Yucatan, but Cahokia, that was the capital of what we know as North America, because tribes from and nations from what we would call up in Canada, those that would come from the Northeast, those that would come from the Southeast, and even those that would come from the Southwest and West would come and descend upon that particular capital. They would pay tribute, they would trade. So this is where, again, our people, our ancestors started entertaining these explorers coming in, these writers coming in, these journalists coming in, and maybe perhaps talking too much on some occasions, but it's coming back again. So we're actually able to use these writings as well to find out who we are. And he talks about that there came from Mexico, and I'm about halfway down, and again it's Elias Buno, Star on the West, and it said that the Chickasaw Nation came from Mexico. I'm gonna say that again. The Chickasaw, again, because we were all one nation. When you talk about the Muskogee, Mississippi, Mississippi, the Muskogean people all came from Mexico. So if those that call themselves Native Americans, if they can't tell you that they came from that area, then something is wrong. If they can't tell you that they came from the area of dealing with Mashika, if they can't tell you that, then something is wrong. So what they're starting to discover now is, wait a minute, which is why I'll say it, I'll say it, I'll say it again. I will never tell anyone that if you want to get your DNA, you get your DNA. Here's the kicker though. They can only go back 4 generations. I'll say that again. They can only go back 4 generations. So if you got your mother, 1 generation, your grandmother, 2nd generation, your great grandmother, 3rd generation, and your great grandmother. So if your great great grandmother was not fresh off the boat, so when they keep saying you're African, you come from this place in Africa, you this and you that in Africa, and I'm not saying again, as I said before, speaking with Melungeons and talking to Melungeons, when they really not ashamed of being who they are. But when you come out as a Melungeon and they tell you that they were descendants of Europeans, American Indians or Native Americans, and free Africans. So, if that is the case, then we really need to start having a conversation about who were these free Africans. Well, like I said, we'll get into that to start dealing with the tribes. Because once we start breaking down on who we are, then we can talk about who these others were. And then you, like I say, you can still see the signs of those that are claiming to be something, but their actions speak otherwise. So anyway, they're telling you that they came from this region is why they settled with them and along the Mississippi. But I mentioned before about the Red Stick Wars, and we're gonna cover that. Not even the Red Stick Wars, but the Red Sticks themselves, on how they ended up on Nanawaya along the Mississippi, and why they call that, the Mother Mound. But it was not. I put it this way: was there and came back. I'll say again, ended up in that region initially, went down in, excuse me, to the Yucatan, Mexico, and then after the waters receded, it came back to what we call the Gulf Coast region of the United States. There you go. You know what? I'm gonna do this. Y'all need to just come on up in here. All right. I am going to. I got the topic, and then I am going to. I'm just gonna open. I'm gonna open it up. If anybody can, if you'd like to come in, that's fine. So, let me do this. Y'all bear with me one moment. Sister Gabrielle Union back there dropping them tasty nuggets. So so they're telling you that they're coming, excuse me, from this area. And when you'll see another classification of the Nawat. So when you talk about the Nawat language, which is still spoken, that these people were speaking this language on who these people are and were. So how are they speaking this Nawat language along the Mississippi? And they telling you that they came, their forefathers came, well, they were coming back to what we know as the southeastern states, along the Mississippi, that they were coming back to that region from Mexico, and they're speaking that language. Why aren't the people that they're talking to now that are running these casinos? They don't speak that language. They don't speak that language. Some of them will speak a mixture of like I say, Germanic language and Algonquian languages, but those are the Muskogee folk, the Mississippi folk, spoke a different language. So now you got to ask yourself, who's who and who's what. But I'm gonna drop this in the chat. So I'm gonna do this because I'm always a firm believer. Don't start none, won't be none. Let's see. Bear with me. Give me a difficult time. Won't let me put the link in here. Hold on. Yeah, because I'm one that I'll tell y'all in a minute. I don't know it all. If I did, then y'all wouldn't have any use for me. I hope it didn't kick me out here. All right, I put that out there in the in the chat. But I say again, these the Natchez were also with these people. Like I say, the Muskogee language, Muskogee speaking people. Sometimes you even see it broken down as Choctaw because you'll see. And I put that word in the chat before, and I'm gonna do it again. But you'll see this also. This is what they called us down uh, in Costa Rica, Honduras, El Salvador, down in that region. So this is where it comes from, and I mentioned it mentioned it before of your guarte. Pardon me. Oh man, my voice, and I'm feeling okay. Is is what we would call maize or corn. Guate. That's where you get Guatemala from. Is the land abundant with corn or maize. It's also when you get to these uh you know, the people even like I say even the world today that they don't want to talk about, that the Muskogee speaking people literally fed the whole world from potatoes to corn to all these other things, especially potatoes and corn. Um, and during the First World War and getting into the Second World War, but especially that First World War, we fed the whole world when they were starving. So if anyone wants to come in. All right, here we go. We got one. Hold on, let me get you in here. All right, brother Feather. Are you in?
Yes.
All right.
All right,
Outstanding.
I'm driving. I'm driving, so you might be seeing me in the car. I can't get my thing to face me.
Oh,
All
you
right.
good. You good. I see you. You good. Yeah, I hear you
Okay.
loud and clear. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us. Like I say, be careful on that road, man.
Yes, sir. Well, I pulled over for a minute so I can log in.
All
Yeah.
right. Well,
'Cause
outstanding. I'm glad you joined.
yeah, I'm like you said, I'm feeling like it's a family reunion. I'm glad we all get got a chance to get back together. We just
Yes,
missing a few
sir.
faces. We just missing a few faces. We had brother Bones, nonetheless, and Libra's son,
Yes,
and
sir.
Liz Robinson. I feel like the whole band was back together again.
Yes, sir. We got to do a roll call. Yeah, we got to get back together. Like the old Motown groups do.
Yes, sir.
Oh man. Oh, I see some more coming on. I see Joe. All the things your man won't do.
Joe 47.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. This Gabrielle Union, is that you? I see you in here.
Ye- Yes, sir, it is.
You been out there still raising those chickens and stuff and growing that maize out in the backyard and stuff.
Yeah, getting seeds and all.
That's it. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Because when everything else shut down, I hope you're not still putting my buddy to work and running him from Lowe's to Home Depot, huh? Oh
Oh
man.
yeah, I am.
So you, I ain't forgot about that. Making him go to 8 different stores and stuff to get you some wood.
I got all those metal
Oh man.
sheets to cover that back room.
Oh man. I'm about to go get my buddy and save him. Oh man. Oh man. I'm glad you were able to jump on as well. Like I say, brother Dragon, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna yield the mic to you. I know that you had hopped on here first, and then we can pass the baton if you don't mind to Sister Gabrielle Union.
Okay,
Yeah, y'all opportunity.
we can let her go ahead. I'm gonna log on off and go back to listening so I can get back on the road.
Oh yeah, but be careful
I
on
just
that
wanted
road.
to check in. I just wanted to check in.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna get together, offline and stuff, and start doing some things there, and coming together too, and start planning some stuff.
Sounds good.
Yes, sir. So peace. Be careful out there.
All right, peace, prosperity, everybody.
Let's see.
Yes, sir. Salute. Sister Gabrielle Union, give me some good stuff. Because I know you've been doing a whole lot of reading.
I have. Um, the more reading I do, the more questions I have. Which those questions haven't been getting answered in books or in school. They've been getting answered by calling, like my great uncle or great grand uncle, or calling cousins, getting in contact with family and asking them questions on what they were told when they were younger or what they remember, or just listening to them talk and describe certain things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So your culture trumps a lot of books because things are in books, but they don't make it's sort of like, and I know this because you know how to cook. It's one thing to get it's one thing to get a recipe, out of a book and you do it, but it just doesn't taste right. And
Right.
then when you get that recipe from Granny, it's like I don't know what she did. So you gotta watch and
Yep.
observe it and ask. Because you can get those, and there's nothing wrong with people get stuff. You get this recipe out of a book, and that's okay. But it's like something is missing. I think
Yep.
about that this scene with with my wife and kids that they had Betty White cooking for them, and and the mom, like, I think it was a custard or something. She had made something, or a cobbler, and she laid it up. She put that on the table, and they started eating. They're like, something is not right. Something is missing. And Betty White kind of took something out of her apron and kind of, sprinkled a little something on there, and they were like, "Yeah, that's it." And so it's just,
Hmm.
that's what I think about. It's like, yeah, you get stuff on the book, and it can lead you on the right path, but then you're saying it's something that's missing. So when you start asking the elders in your family, because again, they can go back, because if you speak to grand aunt, grand uncle, grandmother, then they remember their grand. So now you're grabbing four generations of knowledge that you weren't privy to, or they may not know, coming out of a book. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go.
I talked to two different conversations. First conversation, I talked to my uncle, and he wasn't referring to anyone as black. He was confused why he had to refer to people as either black or African American. And he was asking me questions and we're having a deep conversation about it. And he was confused about it because he didn't understand. And then I talked to my grand uncle who said, I know Indian, but
Hmm.
where is this black? And this was because we wanted to find more family. So a lot of them did 23andMe and Ancestry.com, the Ancestry
Hmm.
DNA. And they were like, we don't understand. We know this, but where is this coming from? We know this because of not just records, but we know because, like my granduncle, he said, my grandmother told me this, my mom told me this. What does this mean? And even when they
Hmm.
refer to the children that they grew up with and their friends, they didn't refer to anyone as black.
Hmm. Hmm. That started in the 1960s. That was the "I'm Black and I'm Proud." That's when that started, because we didn't call ourselves black, and then it switched with you know under Reverend Jesse Jackson. That's when he started the African American. That term wasn't there wasn't those terms were never used. They were
Right.
never
But they
used. And
also talk. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no. Go ahead. I was just amen in what you were saying. Go ahead.
They also talked about what they ate. They talked about not just farming. They talked about what they ate as far as fruits and vegetables. Like they talked about the difference between the fruits and vegetables that you can go to the grocery store and easily pick up. Some fruits and vegetables didn't grow in certain areas. They didn't grow well in
Hmm.
certain areas.
Hmm. Hmm. Things
Some animals weren't even available in certain areas.
hmm I
And
need you to
this is
say that one
from
more time.
Arkansas. Some animals were not available in certain areas. And this is family that I talked to in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, um, and Illinois.
So those going all up and down the Mississippi. Certain fruits, certain foods, certain meats, animals. It was not. Oh, like now you can just go to any store you want to go to and just, hey, I'm gonna pop into this Walmart grocer, and I'm gonna get this, and this and this.
Hmm.
So it was certain things grew in certain areas and knowing the land. Now I'm gonna ask you this because I have to put you on the spot. Does anyone that you spoke to, any of the elders that you spoke to, did their elders mention anything about the Dust Bowl of the night of 1933, 1930s?
No, I didn't ask them about that.
Hey, next time you get around, ask them about, because at this time, the 1930s, this was after after World War I and just before World War II. So there were an influx of immigrants. You think from when they opened the floodgates after the Civil War, let's say, when you can start getting into the 1870s, by late 1870s, 1878, up
Hmm.
until, as we start getting into World War II, they opened every port that it allowed immigrants to come in. Well, this was
Mm-hmm.
part of let's keep expanding west. So you have people coming, and this is more so what I keep trying to share with people. But hey, I'm not saying Africans didn't come over here. I'm not saying that Africans didn't come over here in slave ships. They didn't come over here like people thought that they came over here because here's the number one thing: they don't know the soil. That goes back to what you just said. They don't know the soil. So
Yep.
when these immigrants came over here in that whole region, where you saw missing in Arkansas and Kansas, is going up to Illinois, all up in that part of the Mississippi, and going what now what we call the Midwest, but back then they called going west. They didn't know the land. So if you steady dropping the same crops over and over and over because you don't know the land, then that soil is going to kick back. Mother Nature is going
Mm-hmm.
to kick back. See, I'm old enough to remember that commercial. Remember when they would come and lightning would strike and say, it's not nice to fool with Mother Nature. I know some of y'all young bucks in there don't know anything about that commercial, but it used to come on all the time. But they would talk about the what was that, the margarine or the butter, and she come in and that lightning would strike. Say it's not nice to fool with Mother Nature. You cannot do that to Mother Earth and expect these crops to grow. So this calls dealing with the Dust Bowl. Because again,
Mm-hmm.
you got what happened when the Army Corps of Engineers built the levee and dammed up the Mississippi. And then when the Great Flood of 1927 hit, see, all these things start having, there's a snowball effect. So when they broke the levees in the Mississippi and it flooded that whole Delta region, which caused a lot of people from Mississippi to go up into Chicago, and then those in Alabama to go up into Detroit, and those started coming even west into Texas. Even though we have some folks in Texas, but a lot of people just they and out of Arkansas, they just went up into Chicago. So now, okay, everybody's off the land. Boy, this sound familiar. You know, this sound like Katrina. Everybody's off the land. Then you got an
Yes, I do.
influx of new people that don't know the land and don't know the soil, and they're giving these people land grants. And you can check out any university. Matter of fact, Brother Kerry, I keep putting Brother Kerry on the spot. LSU, LSU, their whole campus in Baton Rouge, Red Stick, was a land grant. They stole Indian land and said, here, y'all build this college campus. Oh, where these tribes used to live. So they started giving out these land grants. And now you got people on the land trying to till the land, trying to grow crops on the land that know nothing about the land. And the ground, the earth dried up. And that caused the Dust Bowl that was all throughout the Midwest, and people just literally drowning in dirt, drowning in sand. Yes, sir. You're right, Brother Kerry. Reason why I know because one of my daughters, she was offered a track scholarship, and she was we were visiting that campus, and they started breaking it down, and we touring the camp. I'm like, yo, man, and this was some years back, and I'm just taking notes. I'm just sitting back, just taking notes, just recording and taking notes, recording and taking notes. And they tell you, like I say, these land grants, so it won't grow. Certain types of crops, some crops that grow here where I am in Texas, won't grow where you are, Sister Gabrielle Union in the Carolinas, and vice versa. So you got to know the
No,
soil.
they won't.
So why are we sitting here thinking that these people were bringing people over by the millions and gazillions over here to till the ground, and they knew nothing about the soil? So if the soil is not the same, because I know down there in New Orleans, you're dealing with sugar, you're also dealing with cotton, all throughout the region. So you're gonna sit here and tell me that two things that don't grow in West Africa, all of a sudden they gonna come over here and be experts on growing cotton and growing sugar? Come on, son. Come on. It's some things that A 5-year-old will look at you like, just like you try to give them some nasty food, and they close their
Mm-mm.
mouth, and you got food all over, you got more food on their face than they do in their mouth. So
Mm-mm.
I'm not
Mm-mm.
eating that. I'm not eating that. It doesn't make sense. So it's like when you start actually thinking for a moment and actually letting things price like this doesn't this really doesn't make sense. It doesn't. So when you're saying to certain people that they say, "Whoa, they came over here and they did," no. I said it before and I say it again. If John Williamson is a quote unquote surveyor, and they said, "I like this land. I see there are colors living on this land, but they aren't paying attention. So let me put this stake in the ground, that stake in the ground, this stake in the ground. Guess what? You live in Williamson County now, but you didn't move. You didn't move. Just like what Chief Warhorse was mentioning about, hey, I've been living for years in Louisiana, but it used to be called Florida, West Florida. Now she didn't move, so it went from West Florida to Louisiana overnight. Nobody moved. And so now, since you stay in Williamson County, you have got to pay taxes. Well, how do I have this US or Confederate currency later on to pay these taxes when I was doing the bartering system? If I'm growing potatoes and Sister Gabrielle Union and you're growing corn and we do that exchange, there's no money. So now I got a man telling me I got to pay taxes, but now they own the land. Then they say, oh, this even get back to after the Civil War. Oh, you can stay on the land, although it's your land and you never move, but then they call you a sharecropper. You have to give them, so, oh, you don't have the money, you just give us a percentage of the crops, not knowing that not only did they get the percentage of the crops, but they have now they've taken possession of your land, or they stolen your land too.
That sound like
And
rent
this,
to own.
that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. They're telling people on the land, "Oh yeah, you can just stay here, though. That's fine." Yeah, because now they are turning a profit. They are turning a profit off of you, and as long as you keep working that land and nobody's even thinking about it, they're not saying anything. That's it. Joe, all the things your man won't do. I'm sorry, like I say, I get on my soapbox because it's excited to be back. Like I say, this is a family reunion up in this camp. But what he was saying in the chat about when they turn around and they're trying to sit here and and say, oh, they we built this and we built that. I know I shifted on you, Sister Gabrielle Union, but they said we did this and we did that. But when you ask them who built them, they'll say we, but how and when, and then they can't tell you. They'll say it's some ancient people. So if these group of people, right? Now I'm going. This going to make some sense to somebody. If this group of people that says we've been here since the ancient of days, and these are our people, and our people built the mounds, but they can't tell you how they built them, then you have to start questioning. Nobody passing information down to you. Hmm? Nobody passing information down to you. Dances with wolves. Nobody. Nobody. So when you ask yourself those ask them those questions and you have to look and say, wait a minute, I'm really trying to be objective and I just really want to know. I just really and they can't do it. But this may be in part 4, but when the nugget gets dropped and everybody keeps having these arguments and you got those and I'm gonna say this is gonna give me some trouble because somebody gonna take this snippet and that's okay. When you got a group of people that's trying to tell everybody over here, oh, y'all African, you West African, you this, that is where you came from. Then why are you rocking Kemet? Somebody gonna have to explain that to me. If you are talking about everybody, then why wouldn't you be rocking those tribes and their culture and their spirituality from those that were in West Africa? Because those that were in West Africa are not the same ones that were in Kemet.
Mm,
So I just want to know because
mm.
because they're not the same, and they try to, oh, well, they had this and they had that, and they looked at the sun. Everybody talks about the sun. So what are you talking about? So don't try to don't so show me Haru and with the Igbo. That
Well,
help me to understand. But then they go talk about languages, but then we showing and proving that it was what they call the Cherokee people was shipped to West Africa, and the language that the Cherokee was speaking is a language that they people are speaking in West Africa. So
I, if you don't mind
go
me
ahead, Sister Gabby.
interjecting real quick, and I
Go
mean,
ahead.
I'm just going to speak. Here's a thought, and I'll speak from my ignorance. My thought is, when it comes to language, um, we still use words in the English language that we speak that aren't translated into English, and we know people in different areas. Everybody has an accent. Wouldn't that also stick? Whatever language was mixed in with another language, how someone spoke, that accent develops.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it stick? Because all the other ones have.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Wow. You know what? You keep going because you going somewhere. You're driving right now. I'm in the passenger seat.
Oh, I was just, and like I said, I'll just speak from my ignorance. I mean, but
No, Dr. Gabrielle, you and your UK. No, you got.
I'm working on it.
I can. You used to get me like that. You're like, oh, these people no. Keep you going somewhere. I got my feet up on the dashboard. I know you gonna slap them down in a minute. I got my feet up on the dashboard, and I got the seat all the way back, and I'm riding. Let's go. You driving.
So we know that towns, we may say them, we may pronounce them differently, but towns and cities and counties, the names tell you who was there. So, and also, again, accents. So, why don't we have those names for counties, cities, and towns, or even states that go along with also the language and accent that would tie?
I'm glad that you asked that question. There are several counties, cities, and states that have not bothered to change the name because they didn't have enough time. Specifically, once you get out of the what we call the 13 colonies. Because what is Alabama? You still there?
Alabama,
What is Mississippi? What is Iowa? What is Michigan? What is Ohio? What is Kentucky? What is Arkansas? What is Kansas? What is Texas? What is Colorado? Even though Colorado is more of Spanish, meaning the with the Red River. But what are these states? Nebraska. What are these states? Then you start going into these towns, and they may be spelled a little differently. Because like you get into a Washita, and I'm talking Brother Kerry May's a land there in Louisiana. They spell it with an OU instead of WA starting out. And so people think, oh, yeah, well, that's French. No, it's the French spelling for the Washita people. And you get the Washita, you get the Wichita, you have Wichita, Kansas, still the same people. You have Wichita Falls, Texas. You have Waco, Texas. You have Waxahachie, Texas. All these start tying back to who these people are. They didn't have enough time to change the name. Because you got to think, it went from they had the 13 colonies. You had the Revolutionary War. You had the War of 1812. Then you get into the Red Stick Wars. Then you get into the Indian Removal Act, and you breathe again. You're in the Civil War. Now, I know I took that through it very quickly because I know people like you do it elementary school. They're like, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. Forget about all the other, years and almost a whole decade of other presidents. I mean, a whole century of other presidents, and we just jump from George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, President's Day, and that's it. No other presidents in between matter. So those towns are still there. You think about it. What we know as is those Western Europeans came and settled along the East Coast. So the names changed over time. Williamsburg and all the rest of the names like that. So yeah, they changed those names. But you have those that were along the Appalachian Mountains and down there in Florida with the Seminole, they couldn't get to the people, which is why Thomas Jefferson wanted to even have a separate nation for those Melungeons and the Indians along the land that's Western Pennsylvania, getting into Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia. Now, all that area there, he wanted that to be a whole totally separate from the United States, and wanted the Melungeons to be a buffer between the United States and these Indians, or what they call us, these wild Indians at that time. They didn't even think about trying to go west. And that's why I said initially when they said going out west was going into Ohio, going into Tennessee, going into Arkansas, going into Louisiana. That, and anything that was west of the Appalachian, wasn't even the Mississippi at that time. Anything west of the Appalachian Mountains was going west at that time to them. So that's why I said they started opening up. Immigrants, come on, we just give you land, although they didn't even have the right to give the land away because it was Indian territory. But they said, oh yeah, we'll come. And as I mentioned the last time, we were getting down into when they had the volunteers leaving, those Melungeons leaving Kentucky and Tennessee, coming down into Texas, and said, we'll give you money, we'll pay, and we'll send a crew to build you a log cabin. Just settle in this land here. Just survey the land, because you'll start to see after the what they call explorers, like I said, and then your conquerors would come. But then they started coming under the auspices of surveyors. They were land surveyors. So when you start seeing these books, really from I would say the like 1830 to before the Civil War, you will find these people with the titles of surveyors. They were surveying the land. They were putting stakes in the ground and saying this was here and this was there. And not to mention our famous dynamic duo, not Batman and Robin, not 10 Speed and Brown Shoe, not Starsky and Hutch, but Lewis and Clark. When they went out as what? Surveyors. I'm on my soapbox again. Since Gabrielle, you up there. What you doing?
No, I'm here.
You making
I'm
some
here.
cornbread. What you doing over there? I know you got about 189 windows open, don't
Not too many this time. I'm still in,
you?
in,
Okay.
in studies, still in finals.
Well, let me know when you walk so I can show up or at least click on the link so I can be there and cheer you on. But
Oh
y'all
yeah.
didn't know we're gonna have she gonna be Doctor Gabrielle Union here in a minute. I have to put it out there. You know, I like to spread the good news. So y'all that don't know,
Oh yeah.
so y'all have to put some respect on her name. But yeah, but like I said, with that was like I said when you're looking into um those names, some of those names, like I said, probably where you are, probably maybe not so much because you know being along that Atlantic coast, states in the
Well,
town, like I said, you do.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go.
So where I'm at, what I definitely pay attention to now is, let's say, like, okay, where I'm at, street names have been changed, areas have been changed, but they're called something else. So they're
Mm,
called their original name instead of the name that you may see on a street sign, or the name that you may see, like if you Google something and it says, this is Plowtown area. The people
mm-hmm,
call it a different name.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
if the area is called Plowtown area, you Google it and you're like, oh, okay, I'm in Plowtown area. The people may call it something else. And that, for me, that's helped a lot because that tells me, okay, it was originally called this. So now I'm looking for and I'm talking to and I'm talking about this.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But those that you just if you just looking up something and don't know, it may be called West Elm Heights when you
Hmm.
when you look at the brochure or you try to look at something online that you know through the Chamber of Commerce or the
Hmm.
conventions bureau, and you'll see that. Like I said, yeah, but when you go to the place, it'll tell you like, wait a minute, this is what this was originally called. Matter of fact, you said it. I'm fighting the same thing where I live. And I'm saying, why are you all changing these names? And I said, eventually, they're. I said, at least if the name is being mentioned, the spirits of the people are still there.
Hmm.
But when you change the name, there will come a time where there will be a generation of people that are there in that area, literally living in that area, that don't know about that land, that don't know about that area because they'll come in and
Hmm.
that's the first thing they want to do. And they sit in there at those planning and zoning meetings, and some contractor will come in, some developer will come in like, yeah, we want to build this and we want to name this, you know, the greater Rushmount area of, you know, the upper east side of whatever area it is. It's like, wait a minute, there's no tie back to the original name, you know. And my deal was always, yeah, as a developer, you have if the landowner has every right to develop that land. My deal is it has to be to me it should be some clause in there and say, hey, you can add your own name to it, but like what you're doing, what you're saying there with the signs when you go there and they tell you like this is Powdertown country, and you said, okay, I know where I am. So now this is the area who used to live here
Hmm.
before before gentrification took place. Who was here before? So that's when you start digging more and going back to those county records. You start to find out. You keep seeing on there colored Negro, Negro, mulatto, colored Negro, mulatto. Like, wait a minute. And then every now and then, like mine, it'll pop up Indian. They'll tell the
Hmm.
truth and saying, okay, well, what happened to these people? You know how they always say, oh, they died off. No, they got pushed out, but the people are
Hmm.
still here. Because in the words of Tretch from Naughty by Nature, no matter where you go, there you are.
Mm.
So if you know where you're from, if you know where you're from, you can find out where you are. Then you can definitely understand your destination of where you're going to.
You know, little
Eh,
tangerine
Bear
real
with me
quick.
one. Go ahead and take the. Go ahead and take the mic. I have to take a call. Stay on. Stay on.
I took a class and the teacher was talking about Thanksgiving, and he was speaking on pilgrims and the history and things that were read. And I'm listening to him, and it wasn't until when he said the Wampanoag tribe. I said, "Oh," raised my hand. I said, "I have three great grandmothers from that tribe." And his whole every what he was saying, it switched up, and he started talking about how um, the government that was established, it wasn't new, it was just taken over. And he started talking about the things that you don't normally hear or read being talked about in textbooks. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You still there? Can y'all hear me? Okay, my apologies. Pulling those, I mean, you can pull records, but definitely asking family, what they remember, what they know, will tell you a lot about your family and what was going on. Okay, I apologize, everyone. Possible to understand. Honestly, I don't know how to restart the stream. What changed since being in school? All right, I'll tell you what changed since being in school. You don't know what you don't know until you go out there and learn it. Um, since I've been in school, I realize that, as Brother James would put it, staying in those windows, getting out of those windows, um, helped me to see and understand what's going on around me. Um, from a perspective of knowing who I am, knowing who my family is, knowing where my family comes from, and then to see everything that's been built up this whole time and still happening, and how am I contributing to it, or how am I helping? How does it help me, and how does it help my family? What do I teach? What I'm being taught, and what I teach my family, and what my family teaches me. It's interesting to be taught a perspective of what I know is my family's history. When I hear stories that are different, the details in it are different than what my family has told me. But I'm in class and I'm hearing a story from someone else's perspective. If I didn't know who I was, and if I didn't know who I came from, then someone else would be teaching me about me. I would say that the teachers teach the truth that they know, and what they're allowed to teach. Like I've run across some that are open and they ask me questions and they're open to knowing, and I've run across a couple that, because they've been educated in what they've been educated in, they don't want to hear different. And then the truth that they teach, I had a teacher that told me, she said, "Oh, my grandmother was Indian. I know you can't tell by looking at me." And I asked her, "Well, what does that mean? Because if your grandmother is Indian, what is your mother?" And it was just interesting to talk to a woman that um, didn't understand or see it in that way. I apologize, y'all. I know y'all want the goods and the teaching. Um, well, the classes I'm finishing up. I mean, it's what my math classes, English, computers. I get the microbiology, biology, and botany in next year or next semester, so I'm excited about that. I will share this. Um, One of the things that has helped since I've been back in school is fine tuning how I research information, how I pull information. It has helped a lot. Finding out um, what places to go, what institutions carry what information, um, so that I can pull what I need to pull, not just for knowing, but to have that information going as far back as I can possibly go. And it helps with knowing who has records, who has what I need.
Sorry about this. It's Gabrielle Union and friends. I had to take that call. I had to get that.
I've already apologized to everyone 3 times already. I
I,
wasn't
I said,
ready.
you were ready.
I wasn't
Could have grabbed.
ready.
You could have grabbed brother Kerry Bay up in here. I apologize.
I
Just
asked him for help.
okay. I'm gonna need the cliff
He
notes
was
because I didn't get a
helping.
chance to listen in to. I didn't get a chance to listen in while I was
So
taking that call.
uh Cliff Notes is I was talking about how Harriet asked a couple of questions. So I was talking about how school has what I've learned since being in school, and I guess realization since being in school, what classes I'm taking. Um, but one of the things I realized just off his last question, where to pull my information. Um, they tell you so you could better research. They tell you what institutions hold what information, and if you can't get it from them, where else to go. So it fine tuned. It helped to fine tune my researching.
Mhm. I'm sorry, I was reading the chat too. Brother Copper said, "Is it
Okay.
possible to restart the stream? Are we still not live? Did they kick us out?
No,
We
we're
still on?
we're 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 live. I had a moment where it was just silent because I didn't realize that you were gone, or stepped away for a call.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm so sorry. Again, I apologize to everyone, but you know how it is. Like I said, and then the kiddos got out of school early today, so it's been pandemonium up in this camp. I don't understand why they get them uh 4 half days instead of just saying just get out of school. I don't understand that. So they got half days for the rest of the week, which is dumb. But yeah, but
Oh,
that's the deal of that what you said about school and that the information, and then compartmentalize and then or putting it in the catalogs as well, and getting all that information. But I know you always got windows open. I said your house, how come your house is so drafty? I gotta have a quilt because I already know. You gotta keep all them windows open.
I've
Probably.
gotten a little bit more responsible in those windows, but yeah, the windows do stay open. I also talked about how I had a teacher, an instructor, and he was speaking about Thanksgiving and the history, and he was I forget the book he was talking about, but he was reading some stuff, and when I realized what he was talking about, I rose my hand. He's like, "Yes." I was like, "Oh." He started talking about the Wampanoag tribe. I was like, "Hey, I've got three great grandmothers from that tribe." And then he said, which was like, to me, it was a turnaround. He said, "Yeah." And he started explaining. He said, "Yeah, the government system, the system that's in place, it wasn't new. We just took over it." And
Mhm.
it was the way he started talking. I started paying attention to other people that I talked to when they started talking about pilgrims and whatnot. It When I spoke up to say, "Okay, wait, this is what I know. This is who I am. This is what it is." They changed the way that they talk, but they talked with, "Okay, this is what happened. Now I can say this. I can say what it is or what it was."
Mhm. You got to know the right code words because they like Brother Kerry Bayer put it that they can only give you the information that they're allowed to give you on the curriculum. But since you made
Right,
a statement or asked a question, now you've opened the floor up. So
right.
now they can give you the truth or the rest of the story. Because you think about it, there is no way. I will quote Benjamin Franklin, or I'll paraphrase Benjamin Franklin, and I'll be able to pull that quote up and put it up next time we talk. But now you got to be freestyling. Is when he stated,
You had
he
me
said,
freestyle first.
so we just having a cipher up in this camp. So when he stated, he said, if we can get a group of savages can be structured and organized to form a government, why can't we? And guess who he was talking about? What people you just say you do? You from what tribe? What you just say in the class? What you just
Wampanoag.
say? Oh
Wampanoag.
snap! Now I'm not gonna tell you anything wrong. Y'all look that up when Benjamin Franklin said that dealing about the Wampanoag when he said, "Hey, he said if a group of savages can come together and form a government, why can't we?" So you can thank Benjamin Franklin for the hijack. because that's who gave them the idea to take the government structure from the Wampanoag. Oh snap! That's just a little extra nugget. I know brother no sell out. I know, I know he's somewhere listening. I know he's not in the chat. I know he's somewhere listening. 'Cause he probably driving too. Probably got he probably got his hand one hand on the armrest between the seats, and the other hand at 12 o'clock, and he probably cruising down 85 or 95 south, going somewhere, coming up through that DMV area. But yeah, these are the things that when we have to get back to basics and understanding and using your schooling to get those nuggets, because you can delve into places that the outsiders can't, and then come back and share that information. Because I'm going to ask something, and it may sound very elementary on the surface, but if remember back in the day, it was that when a family, well, they were just really laborers, but you had that
Uh-huh.
one kid that was super smart, and everybody in the family, even the extended family, would pitch in their money to send that one kid off to school to represent that
Mhm.
whole family.
Uh-huh.
This is what's happening now for those that can't go to school, whether they just work, or just can't do it where they are in their lives. This is Gabrielle Union, you, brother Carrie Bay, and anybody else is on here that's in school. Y'all are those little kids, smart kids in the neighborhood that everybody Akila and the Bee, when everybody was helping her in the whole neighborhood learn how to spelling words and stuff. Get ready. Y'all are those kids. Then come back, like y'all like what you're doing right. That's why I said start having these gatherings and us talking. Get that information from those institutions of higher learning and bring it back to us. And it's the same as we sitting there in the classroom with y'all now. Because once they give you the information, they can't tell you not to, not to share it. Do they tell you like, oh no, you can't, you don't sign a non-disclosure agreement, do you?
No, not at all. That's interesting you say
So
that because I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go.
Well, one of the things with every class that I take, one of the things that I realize is that I could be at home building something. When I go to school, when I take the class, they tell me the history of it. And it's very interesting because I didn't, even down to language, I didn't realize how much or how many different cultures that are being taught in how to do something.
Hmm.
They also teach the history. And a lot of people don't catch it, but I'm open ears like, wait, who contributed to this? Wait, who started this? Oh, you're teaching us this. So you're teaching me about me. Okay.
Hmm. And you get a whole new perspective, and then you start
Yeah.
rocking like Oprah Winfrey when she was
Yes.
Sophia. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Sophia, home
Feel
now,
home now.
because you start to figure like, wait a minute, you talking about me and my people, and so this is what, like I said, when you get down, as my grandmother say, to the nitty gritty, because it is turning, and so as we start to understand more of who we are, we're starting to love history more. If you notice, people that don't want to talk about history, or those that don't know who they are, they get mad and they're like, oh, slave, and oh, slave. And I ain't talking about that old slave stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, what were you before, during, and after? Because first of all of us wasn't enslaved.
Right.
So first of all, we got to dispel that myth. Because you think about, like I said, you think about how quickly things just kept coming back to back to back. Because, like I said, again, after the Indian Removal Act, there was, like I said, some of us moved, some of us stayed, Some of us died because we were like, hey, we just gonna fight y'all. But then, like I said, you get into these red stick wars that cannot be ignored, and then you're looking down into Mesoamerica, and you got the caste wars that was all this was happening at the same time. So when was all this time that all these folk were in all these shackles? And I'm not saying it didn't happen. There was a huge plantation in Louisiana, and I still say again, what people don't realize, you got one, and but they trying to make it seem like everybody. Then there's a plantation. You walk a mile, another plantation, 400 people, another plantation. Like it wasn't like that. You even see the records. It's like they have 20 here, 20 there, 15 here, 15 there. Somebody, and I still, this is what I still want to figure out. I'm gonna say this, and somebody will probably, they won't jump on here because I did put the link in the chat because I know they're listening, but they'll do another live to counter what I'm about to say to this. When we are taught slavery, right? You a slave. It's in perpetuity, forever, and you're not getting one red cent. I want somebody to explain to me how these people were buying their freedom and buying their wives' freedom and their children's freedom if you wasn't getting paid. Do I need to say that again?
Yes.
Because you read tons of cases on how, right, the man or the woman would buy their freedom, come back and buy their spouse's freedom, and buy their children's freedom. So how did you initially buy your freedom if you're not getting paid?
One of the questions I've asked a couple of people in conversation when they reference slavery, I said, well, how do slaves buy land?
That's
If
what I
you're
want to
not
know.
from here and you're a slave, how do you buy land? And if you inherited it and it was passed to you, why, if you were a slave?
You own to something.
That's just, I
You
mean,
own,
that's just me speaking from my ignorance.
now I have a question to the chat though because I want to make sure. I want to make sure because I don't know if the chat is frozen or if everybody's just fell out of their seats. I'm asking this, but I'm asking anyone in the chat. And like I said, I know there's some that are listening that won't put anything in the chat because they be like, "Oh snap! I don't want them to know I'm listening to Sister Gabrielle Union and James Flame, aka Doodoo Vision, up in here." They're not going to admit that, but they do. But they don't. Anybody, somebody could just speak. You send a proxy and put something in the chat because I want to make sure that the chat isn't frozen because they ain't moved in a while. Oh, is that Miss Parker? The last thing I see is from Miss Parker. So I'm just trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure that out. Oh man, is that Tiny Liston, aka Devo, up in here? Llama, y'all tell me something good. That's right. That's what I said. Yeah, because you found records of owning their own land and forming it for 100 years. So what is that's why I said I'm trying to figure out where all this is coming from. Because like I said, because my people, like I said, some went into Florida, some went to the Northeast, some stayed in Mississippi and fought, and then some went out west, going to still in Louisiana now, Lake Charles area, and then into Texas, what we know as Hall Creek, which is southeast Texas. And my great grandfather owned that land, and I have the the tax rolls showing how much land he owned there at Hall Creek, how many cattle he owned, because all that's all on there with the tax records, because that's property. So the
Hmm.
cattle and the wagons, all the stuff that he owned. So I'm looking here and I'm saying, yo, this is in the 1840s. So I don't know. Oh, I gotta drop this nugget too. I know we're supposed to be talking about the Natchez, and we'll come on and do it again. We'll talk about it, and I'll make sure that we all go come on here and be able to do the bill on the Natchez because I don't want that to get lost. But I wanted to say this for those that still may not get it, and y'all look this up because I don't want to mess anybody up. Hold on to your seat. Turn your cap to the side already, like when that Chicago wind hit you from the coming from the Great Lakes. Freed man did not refer to those that were slaves. I'm gonna say that again.
Mm.
Freed man did not refer to those that were slaves. Freedman, the Freedmen's Bureau, was started to assist those that lived in Confederate states, regardless of your so called color. There are white people that were not slaves that are listed as freed men.
Hmm.
Now, y'all can look that up for yourselves. So they are on these freedman rolls. That just meant that you lived in Confederate states. It separated you from the Union states. And that's how they listed you with the help of those carpetbaggers. Y'all remember studying about those carpetbaggers in U.S. history in high school? How they would come down and everybody hated those carpetbaggers when they came down from the north after the Civil War and trying to show these slow Southerners about government. Come back to the Union. Mm, mm. Anybody remember that? So they try to fool you. They don't pull the wool over your eyes and they using certain terminology and telling you not to use certain things. And then they want to remove, oh, don't call yourself American Indian. You better call yourself a Native American. And we already talked about that. All that is just means you were born here because those Europeans that came over here started calling themselves native. That's why they got into it with the British because they were saying, we're from here. We don't need to pay taxes. No taxation without what? Sister Gabrielle Union, help me out. Did you drop off the line?
Nope, nope, I'm here.
They say what? No taxation without what?
Um,
Representation.
Representation.
No taxation without representation. Why? Because they started saying we are natives of this land. We owe y'all dumb diddy. We don't owe y'all nothing. So everybody can say, oh, they Native Americans, they Native Americans. That don't say what I say. All American Indians are Native American, but all Native Americans aren't Indian. All squares are rectangles, but all rectangles aren't squares. And again, when it comes to law, it says American Indian. Remember, we did bill upon bill upon bill upon morning upon day and day to day about HUD and those PIH codes, public and Indian housing codes. I guess HUD was listening because now they got slick and they did add some HUD codes, but you know what it pertains to? Mobile homes. That's the only thing you're gonna see on the HUD codes. Everything else that we talk about, PIH codes, not Native American codes. Oh, true. Why? I don't know why. But brother, why it's trying to block your message? I don't know what's going on. Okay, I got you. I don't know why it was somebody playing with the switches up there. Somebody that got a wrench playing with these switches up in the building. Got my man where I had to he couldn't even post in the chat. So these are the things that we have to start realizing when we start talking about history. And we start talking about history. It's like, oh yeah, well they did that to us, and who was the they, and how did it happen? And I don't want to deal with this system. Well, the system belonged to your ancestors. All they did was take, like I say again, if somebody come to my house and steal my stuff, and I find out you got my stuff, I'm not gonna say, oh no, I don't want it. I don't want it. I'm going to get it. So how about you connect in to the same system that belonged to your ancestors and take it back? You got some people say, no, I want to disconnect from the whole system. Again, go back and look up Benjamin Franklin, what he said about these savages over here and how they formed this government. And they took it and hijacked that governmental system. And it's what you have working in DC now. Come on, son. Come on, son. They don't get it. They don't understand. They don't understand. See, oh, I said, I love this chat. I love this chat because without a shadow of a doubt, y'all have some of the most beautiful minds I've ever come across. Because people that get it, people that get it. That's why when I turn to some of the other, I come through and I get an alert on my other some YouTube pages. I'm like, man, the frequency is so low, and it's dealing with the same stuff over and over, and saying, why are you still having the same discussion from 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15 years ago with the same folk who can talk louder than this other person, who can call the people out they name the most? Man, come on, son. Come on, son. I know we've been going on for a while. It's Sister Gabrielle Union. I know you over there cooking you some grits. Stop playing. It's almost supper time. I know that's what you over there doing.
I gotta hurry. Well, I am doing that, but also I'm getting ready to study for my final tomorrow.
Oh, I know. Like I say, doctor. They call your name like Dr. Gabrielle Union, and you get to turn that tassel over.
Mm-hmm.
And you walk across that
Mm-hmm.
threshold.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I ain't playing with
I'm
this. Not
gonna
at
be.
all.
What I'm gonna do is I'm record myself when you walking across the stage. I'm record myself playing "Hail to the Chief," and I'm gonna do a dance
That's right.
because because in the words I can't say his name anymore because everybody get upset with me because some of the stuff that he said. But a lot of stuff he was saying was right. People just weren't paying attention. But like that famous thespian from Chicago that says, you can't tell me nothing. So you walk across the stage, I already know that you can't tell her nothing. Already looking forward to it. Already looking forward to it.
Oh yeah.
And see, brother,
Sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I was gonna close out. No, because I'm gonna let you get the last word. But I had to see what brother Serpent had mentioned what he said before about these African towns with these Indian names, and you got these Portuguese. So I'm gonna put a snippet up this evening about these some of these, like tell people that these West Africans were Portuguese. Because everybody, that's why I said when you talk about, oh, when Queen Isabella, King Ferdinand, when they kicked the Moors out, all the Moors didn't leave, a lot of them they hired them. They hired them to be the sailors, the captains of these seas, because they knew about coming over here to the Americas. But where'd those other folk go? They went back down where they were from, West Africa. So I'm gonna drop a little nugget about these Portuguese, these blackamoors, and it wasn't all of them, but these particular blackamoors down there in West Africa, they would come over here on these ships because they looked like the people that were already here. A lot of these ships they're talking about all these slave ships. No, they were passenger ships and had these Portuguese on her. These Negro Portuguese. that were on there.
Are you talking about those first generation born
You know what I'm talking about.
Portuguese?
You know it. Those same folk that those Melungeons say that they descended from, they call them, I'm using their language, they said they triracial. That's what they said. They said European, Native American or American Indian, and African. And they specifically put it in all caps, free Africans. Because again, coming over here, you paid your voyage, you had to pay because they didn't have money. So you worked off, and then when you after you worked as an apprentice, they would give you a parcel of land, still in Indian land. They gave them a parcel of land. And again, the majority of these that were coming over here from Africa were males. Well, who were they mating with? They wasn't mating with themselves last time I checked. Mm. A plug and a plug don't make electricity. A socket and a socket don't make electricity. Only a plug and a socket. If y'all ain't figured that out, that's the birds and the bees talk. Only dealing with electricity. Y'all figure it out. So who would they having these babies with? Hmm? That's all when you start asking people these questions, then you're saying, okay, that these free Africans having babies with these American Indians, and then if you got a half American Indian and a half Portuguese baby, and then that baby has a baby with another Native American. Oh, no, let me rephrase that. I'm not gonna use that term. American Indian. So is that American Indian going back to Africa to find a mate and then shipping that African back? So after a while, roller coaster of love. Say what? Sorry, I got an Ohio player of the app. Brother Copper, we got to come back in and do this again, man. Oh, Miss Parker, I'll be back regularly. It's gonna be back regularly. So Miss Parker, go ahead and get ready. And also I try to put when I'm gonna go live, I try to do that in the like give a little preview, like they when they show like the different live streams that are coming up. So I try to give you the time as well. So I said, Brother Copper, yeah, and Brother Copper, I know, man, we got to do this at a later time too. So so you can hop on here. Like I said, he's the most traveled man. He works for Travelers Insurance. In case y'all don't know, he does all that traveling. There you go, Ohio player. They don't know. I keep trying to tell them about that kissing bush. They don't understand. You keep trying to tell them, they don't understand. And they call us this, and they keep trying to call us, oh, you the black devils. And they tell us, oh, Seminole means this is because of the Spanish. No, it's semi. Kissing. Same person that now that the Spaniards were calling the black devils. But it gets back to kissing, kizzy, who we are, semi, where you coming from. And I'm gonna show, and it's gonna come on a little bit later. I'm gonna start showing you how, and it still happens. It's happened in all our families. How they knew we come in all different shades. But because I know both of my granddaddies were as black as the bottom of my tennis shoes. And they both married my grandmothers, who were both American Indian, but they were light bright. And it hadn't changed. But I'm gonna show you where that comes from. It's still like, oh man, they trying to do this, do that. Mm-mm. I'm gonna show you the ancient paintings on the walls. They've been doing that. Ohio player, you done messed up, man. Because when you said that about you, when you threw that in there about that, that's what it took me back to. So black devils would come back into the mainland. They'd get them a wife. They'd get them a light bright. and vice versa, and it kept going on. And if your granny was darker skinned, more melanated, then she go and then get a light bright husband. It's still the same thing that we do. It hadn't changed. It hasn't changed. Oh man, since Gabrielle Union, new grits are almost ready because I'm hungry.
Yeah.
But like I say, I'm gonna make sure, like I said, we all go delve into. I touched on a little bit, and I'm glad. See, there's always a ram in the bush. I'm glad that brother Feather Serpent was able to come on for a little bit to drive, and I know it's still listening. I appreciate Sister Gabrielle Union that she was thrown in there. It's like what? It's like you, just Gabrielle Union thought she was gonna sit there at the end of the bench, and then when she got called, like you're starting, like when the coach said, "Get in there," you're like, "What me?" So I'm glad that she was able to turn it up and be Michael Jordan in '96 for me while I had to take that very, very important phone call. But we're going to do this again,
I
like I
know
say,
better
regularly.
now.
And we're going to get in the group and we're going to get on the time. You know what? Sister Gabrielle Union, you good at this. Or somebody, if they could like start a back chat with those of us that are on here, so we could start, having dealing with topics and let y'all know what time we go live and stuff like that. So I really want to do that. So Sister Gabrielle Union, I
Hmm.
know you can do it.
Yes.
Because I'm gonna tell you something. Because you probably got the grandkids in one hand, you stirring grits in the other hand, you probably tilling the ground with your toes, and you can open up a back chat for us so we can reconnect. I know you can, and
Okay.
and and with your mouth, you are penning your thesis to get your doctoral thesis because you're getting ready to walk across the stage. I know you can do that all at the same time.
Yeah, I am trying. Yeah.
I I know you can. So just when you get a chance, no rush. But I'm gonna get off here because I know you got to get ready to eat. Because I know you got definitely. I'm hungry, and you got to get some nourishment in you. So when you to go get this degree, so now y'all got to understand. And the one thing I need you to do for me, Sister Gabrielle Union,
Okay.
I see your name in here is Lily, right?
Hmm.
So after you walk across the stage, you're going to have to put doctor in front of her. You're going to have to change
Oh
that.
yeah.
Okay. So when everybody else start coming in here, they start talking smack like, is there a doctor in the house? We're like, yep, there is a doctor in the house. And they
Yes.
have to stand up and
Absolutely.
recognize. So I need you to
Every
do that for
time.
me. If you don't, then I'm gonna boot you out and make you come back in under new name with doctor.
I
So
will.
I need you to do that for me. Like I say, I appreciate everybody listening. We all gonna get back to this Natchez because I really want people to see. So if you Natchez, connect with your folk. Like I say, y'all better get with Brother No Sellout, but get with your folk and all these other folk. They keep talking about they this and they that and butter for the fat. Kill my dog, I'm gonna slay your cat. Y'all know that that's public enemy. But y'all gonna have to understand when you see who's who and what's up. Stop hanging with them. Like I said, going over there with Pookie and them. You can stay over there with Pookie and them, or you can find out who your folk are. Because Pookie and them, when they come to your house, your granny looking like, I don't know, baby. Bless your heart. Stop hanging out with them folk because you think they cool. Woo! Well, I'm gonna let Sister Gabrielle Union get the last word, and then we're gonna be out. No, I'm sorry, Doctor Sister Gabrielle Union. I'm gonna yield my mic, and the floor is yours. And then you're gonna shut it down too. You gonna have the very last word. Go ahead, sister.
Okay. So on the way to school today, the thought that I had was when you lost, anyone can find you. And I was so glad to go to on my way to school to know I'm not lost. So anyone can't find me. Know who you are, learn who you are, ask questions. And if it don't make sense, ask more questions because you're going to get the answer and it's going to be right there in front of you. And you're going to appreciate knowing that information and you're going to walk differently and talk differently and you're going to help others. So I'll leave you with this. Everything costs, even conversation. All you have to do is pay attention. That's it. That's all I got.